Today on the podcast, we have an expert interview with doula Kesha Graham. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN physician and certified integrative health coach. Every week, I break down topics, share birth stories, or interview experts to help you have your very best pregnancy and birth. Quick note, the information is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. See the full disclaimer at ncrcoaching.com/disclaimer. Well, hello there. Welcome to another episode of the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I hope you are having an absolutely positively fabulous day. I am over here feeling pretty fabulous because you all keep leaving me these absolutely lovely reviews. Let me give a quick listener shout out to, and I'm just going to spell it out, Kathrark. She left me a review in iTunes and it says, even though this podcast is just starting out, the sound and presentation is excellent. Great information, reliable sources, and real. And that real is in all caps. I was so happy to find this podcast. Well, thank you so much for those kind words. I am happy that you found the podcast too. And I'm so excited about continuing to deliver excellent, reliable information for you. Now, I would love to leave you a shout out on the podcast. So drop me a review in iTunes and I will leave you a shout out on a future show. All right, so today we have a great expert interview with Kesha Graham. Keisha is a birth doula, a childbirth educator, and an Octavia Butler fan. Keisha's been supporting birthing people for over 8 years, and she's also passionate about raising awareness of the Black maternal health crisis in this country. Keisha's also the community manager for the private Facebook group for members of my online childbirth education class, the Birth Preparation Course. And she's the community moderator for the podcast community Facebook group. I hope you're in the podcast community Facebook group. It's called All About Pregnancy and Birth Podcast Community. And it's a great place to connect, to share tips and swap insights. So definitely join the group if you haven't already done so. I will link to the group in the show notes. Now today, Keisha is going to tell us all about doulas. I'm a huge supporter of doulas, so I'm really excited to bring this information to you. And Keisha is going to talk about what a doula does, how to choose a doula, how a doula works with your partner, and so much more. So without further ado, let's get to my interview with doula Kesha Graham. Hey there, Keisha. Thank you so much for coming on to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I am so glad to have you here today to help women learn more about doulas.
Yay.
Awesome. So I thought we would start off by having you tell us a little bit about you and your work and maybe even your family if you want to.
Awesome. So I am a birth doula in Richmond, Virginia. I also am a wife. I'm a mother of 2 little queens in training is what I call them.
Oh, I like that. Yes.
Not quite princesses, but they're queens in training.
Right.
So Michaela's 10 and Carter is 4. So in addition to running around with them, I'm also a part-time cashier. I teach childbirth education in a classroom setting at one of the local hospitals. And I'm also the Facebook community manager for the birth preparation course. Yay!
I feel so fortunate to have Keisha as part of the birth preparation course. She is such an outstanding resource and help to women in the course community. So thank you for being a part of that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but we're not here to talk about the course. We're here to talk about doulas. So how about you tell us, what exactly is a doula?
So a doula, like basically is a support person or a labor coach. So a doula is a professional that will be with a person and a family throughout their pregnancy, labor and delivery, and in the immediate postpartum periods. We provide physical, emotional, and most importantly, educational support
Hmm.
throughout those phases in a
Okay.
woman or a family's life. Um, and then there's birth doulas and postpartum doulas. Postpartum doula kind of picks up where the birth doula ends in that fourth trimester period, and they help the family kind of transition with that newborn in the home, doing light housekeeping, groceries, and I think one of the most awesome things that postpartum doulas do, most of them do, is overnight visits. So families can get that rest
Ooh,
without
that
worrying
is
about,
nice.
yeah,
Yes.
without worrying about taking care of that newborn.
Okay, so is it common that usually be just a birth doula or and just a postpartum doula, or does it go across, or does it vary?
It varies. Some people are just birth doulas, some people do postpartums, and some do both. It really depends.
Okay, okay. So what kind of training does someone have to go through to become a doula?
So two of the most common ways to train to be a doula are traditional classroom settings, or workshops where you go to a location and it's like a 3-day immersive training, or there are online courses that you can take too.
Okay. Now, do you have to have training in order to be a doula, or can you just kind of say that you're a doula?
You can kind of just say you're a doula, because basically it really is just a person that's going to support you. It is nice to have a doula that has some type of training and or certification, just so that you know that they are very well versed in the support that they're giving you.
Okay, got it. Now, if it does the training involve like a requirement for any hands-on type of work?
So if you want to specialize in acupressure or spinning babies, that's a little bit more hands-on, and you'll need extra additional training beyond your doula training. But other than that, it doesn't, we do go over, in the classroom settings, labor positions and some of the main points to help with counter pressure and things of that sort.
Okay. So, why should a woman have a doula? I definitely have thoughts about this already. I'm definitely very supportive of doulas, but let's hear your take on why a woman should have a doula.
Everyone deserves to be supported in throughout this journey that they're going on. And sometimes even if you have a midwife and a very supportive nursing staff or OB, there are times where they're not in the room and they're not available to give you the immediate questions that you have. So it's great to have someone that's going to be there with you, that's not employed by the hospital, that's not pushing their own agenda,
Hmm.
supporting you throughout your labor and delivery.
And the support is crucial. And actually, I will
Yeah.
add that research studies have shown that having the type of support that a doula provides can increase your chances for a vaginal delivery. It can decrease your need for pain medicine, decrease your use of an epidural if that's something you're interested in. So there is research behind having a support person like a doula in your labor for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I've decided, okay, I think I want to have a doula. Well, not me personally. I ain't having no more kids, but
Right.
but, but I am a to and through kind of girl.
Same.
But where can women go if they have decided that they want a doula? Where can they go to look for a doula?
The most universal place to find a doula, no matter where you are in the world, is doulamatch.net.
So is that like
There you
that's a
can,
website,
yes,
correct?
it's a
Yeah.
website, and you can put in your zip code and your due date, and it should automatically populate tons of doulas that are available for your time that you plan on going into labor. If you don't have doulamatch.net or internet or whatever, then you can always ask your providers. They should have lists of doulas or a midwife just ask around. We're around.
Okay. Yeah, I've looked on doulamatch.net before, and it's a pretty straightforward website. And I'll link to
Yeah.
that in the show notes for anybody who is interested in that resource. You may get like plus or minus about some providers, whether or not they do or don't know doulas. But you can ask the hospital. The hospital
Oh,
should
yeah.
know. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about something most pregnant women aren't getting enough of: omega-3 DHA. The recommendation is over 200 milligrams a day, but less than 5% of pregnant women in the US meet that. That's one of the reasons I love Ritual's Essential Prenatal. It has 350 milligrams of vegan DHA plus other key nutrients like methylated folate and choline to support baby's neural tube development. As an OBGYN, I appreciate that Ritual goes beyond the basics. The formula is science-backed, third-party tested for heavy metals and microbes, and every ingredient is traceable. And the delayed release design, it's gentle on the stomach, something that really matters, especially if there's trouble with nausea during pregnancy. You deserve to know exactly what you're putting into your body, especially when it comes to prenatal multivitamins. And with Ritual's dedication to traceable science and sourcing, you always will. See for yourself with 25% off your first month at ritual.com/Dr. Nicole. Start Ritual or add Essential Prenatal to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/Dr. Nicole for 25% off your first month. Now, once you've found some options, you've found a few people that you want to interview, what are 3 questions, at least 3 questions, and you can say more if you want to, but what are at least 3 questions a woman should ask before she hires a doula?
I believe the most important question is asking the doula about their birth philosophy. You basically want a doula that kind of aligns with the birth that you are planning, envisioning in your head. So that's really important. You would also want to ask the doula what their backup schedule looks like, especially during this time of year. It's kind of cold and flu season, and you don't want your doula showing up to your birth
Right.
with the sample. So you want to make sure that they have a solid backup. And then lastly, I would think of something like really personal. Again, your doula is going to be somebody who is going to be there with you for a long period of time.
Right.
So you want to have that connection, even if it's like, what's your favorite TV show, or like, what's your favorite color, something really personal. So that way, you know that you have that connection with your doula.
So just an idea, just to kind of feel like you know this person and you can feel comfortable with this person during a really important time.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, once you have decided on a doula, like what can a woman expect in terms of the services?
It kind of varies, but mostly you want to use your doula as a sounding board in your pregnancy. I say the earlier you hire a doula, the better. So that way, after every appointment, you're able to chat with her about things that you didn't quite understand at your appointment, or that you want to elaborate a little bit more on.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. So you can, like, any point in time during your pregnancy. I mean, is there a too early time, or is there? I always thought about it like right before, closer to delivery kind of thing. This is good information. Yeah.
No, the earlier the better. You definitely want someone who is going to be there throughout the whole journey with you and knows all of the concerns that you had, even in the beginning, because some of those things might come up later on in your pregnancy. So I've been hired with women who just found out they were pregnant, and then I've also been hired with women who have been walking through the door in labor.
Really?
Yeah. So it's been
how do you do that? I mean, do you just pick up the phone like, Keisha, I need you?
Yeah. So it's like women who are on the fence, and then they are like, okay, I need to hire a doula. I'm in labor right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it varies, but the earlier the better. So that way you have someone and you're building that rapport throughout your entire pregnancy.
Yeah, I was here to say, I guess that helps to kind of build the connection. Do you ever worry though about getting I don't want to put you in a bad spot, but are people texting you all the time or constantly, or do you just put limits on that?
Yeah, so what I do personally, I tell all of my families that my witching hour is like at night after I put my kids to bed.
Right.
So in early pregnancy, I will like address non-emergency related things like in the middle of the night and for the next day. But I take phone calls whenever, and then at 38 weeks, at 38 weeks, my phone goes on and then it's always on. So 24 hours a day, whatever you need, just let me know.
Okay. Okay. So do you just have like a separate phone kind of thing, I would imagine, or?
Just my regular phone.
Okay. When you said I turned my phone on, I was envisioning in my head like the secret doula phone.
Right. Like that's no.
Now, how much can women roughly expect to spend on a doula?
It depends on the where you are and the cost of living for where you are in the world. It can range anywhere from $500 to at like $1,200, $1,500. It really depends on where you live and experience level. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's a good range. Now, one of the things that women may be concerned about, of course, they're going to have their partner with them during labor. So how, and want, support from their partner. So how does the doula work with the woman's partner during labor?
I feel like doulas are like best for partners because that way,
yeah, tell us.
We take all of the pressure off of them. They don't have to remember anything because we're there telling them, say this to her, like rub her back this way.
Okay.
So the woman doesn't see us in the background telling her partner to do all these things. What she sees is her partner there because that's really all that you're worried about, just the two of you and those connections that you have. So we're great for giving out suggestions, giving out tips. And if they need a break, if it's been a really long birth and you just need a break to have a sandwich or take a drink or take a phone call, you don't have to worry about someone not being there to support the birthing person. The doula is there and you can take that break.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, to for sure. Because some labors can be long. Let's just be honest. They can be. So have you ever heard of stories where doulas kind of don't work with the partner so well or interfere with the partner or anything like that?
Yeah, you hear stories like that, but that's not the way that it should be. The doula should be the doula for the whole family, not just the laboring person.
Oh, got it. That makes perfect sense. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the biggest misperception that you see women have about doulas? I know a common misperception I see is that sometimes women think doulas have medical training.
Yeah, we don't give out any medical advice or anything like that. But for me, I guess the biggest misconception is that you don't need a doula. And I feel very strongly in that everyone deserves a doula and everyone needs one. That continuous support is very important during labor and delivery. And I really strongly believe that everyone deserves a doula.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Like I said, even just I have a background in research, so I'm always into research, but just from the way that obstetrics is practiced, and I don't want to say I'm part of the problem because I'm not the problem, but but I'm a hospitalist. So
Right.
I walk an OB hospitalist. I walk into a woman's room and I've never met her before.
Right.
So I am able to quickly establish that rapport, but there is something to be said for having someone there who
Right.
and who's with you the whole time, because the doctor may change. It may be the doctor who's on call. The nurse may change with a different shift, but your doula will be there. I've seen it. They are there the entire time of your labor, and that makes a difference.
Yeah, and we don't get tired. It's something about that birth time that keeps us awake.
All right. Now, you have been a doula for 8, going on 9 years now. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite part about your work?
I just love being there to support families and not having to take the baby home. So I get all of it. I'm able to give you all of the information. I'm able to help you formulate questions to ask. I'm there when everything may not go according to plan, but that satisfaction that you have after your birth because you were so informed with all of your options and choices, and just seeing that and seeing families and then leaving like, hey, that's your baby.
Right.
I'm glad I could do all of this for you.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not mine.
Oh, that is funny. I kind of have the same sort of thing where I feel like I get to be a part of this special moment. And every
Yeah.
now and again, I get a little bit of a like, ooh, maybe I want to have another baby. But no, it ain't happening.
Yeah,
So.
right.
Now, how many births do you attend on roughly like in a month?
So I do 2 to 4. Some people do more, some people do less. It really depends on, I guess, your doula, their backup, and what they're comfortable with. I feel for me, 2 to 4 is something that I'm really comfortable with, that I know that I can be there to attend all of my births.
Okay. All right. Now, one thing, this next question I like, and I feel like I'm about to get some like juicy intel or something, but you have this unique vantage point where you get to see lots of different doctors in lots of different hospitals. Like, I don't know how my colleagues deliver babies. Like, I'm not in the room when other doctors deliver, and I don't go to other hospitals, and unless I'm working there. So what are some of the things that you've noticed that are different? And be honest, that are differences that women might want to look out for between doctors and hospitals?
I used to think that all doctors were the same, all hospitals were the same.
That ain't the truth, for
right?
Sure.
It's really not. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned is how to navigate those settings, those hospital settings, those doctors and how they practice. So I'm able to give the families a little bit more insight on the things that I've seen their providers do, or at the hospital, or just resources that those places have. And if they're telling me that they want, let's say, for example, a low intervention birth and with a birth tub, and they're at a place or they're with a provider that doesn't already offer those things, I can say, okay, you might want to look at these other places or these other providers. And I can say that with confidence.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And going back to like getting a doula early in your pregnancy is that, and the question you asked about the birth philosophy, you can actually help women kind of see like, oh, you might want to stay away from this doctor, or no, this doctor is really, really great. So women have an opportunity to find someone who really works for them in their pregnancy.
Definitely. I always tell families that I work with that they have a choice, and you can always change your mind later or earlier or anywhere in the middle.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing I will say there, it's easier to change in the beginning. So.
Yes. Yes, it is.
All right. Now, the final question I have related to doulas before I ask a couple of like personal questions is, you talked about the cost of having a doula, and unfortunately the reality is not all women can afford a doula. So what if a woman can't afford a doula? What are some options that she may have to do her best to get that support?
You can put it on your registry or write it on, I guess, your baby shower invitation. Let your family and friends know that this is something that you really want, and hopefully they can donate towards the cost towards a doula. Crowdfunding sites like GoFundMe are really good about getting funds for doulas. And like I said, the price range, it really varies. So you'll find doulas that are lower cost, or they'll take lower cost births, or they'll do free births. So it really is all over the place. Just reach out, and anyone that you reach out to should be able to give you information for a doula in the price range that you're looking for.
Finding something to wear during pregnancy shouldn't feel frustrating. And with Armoire, it's actually fun. Armoire is a clothing rental membership that gives you access to high quality, beautiful pieces that fit your changing body and your style. You take a quick 5-minute style quiz, pick what you love, and fresh styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. I recently tried Armoire, and y'all, I loved the dress they sent. It was flowy, flattering, and it had pockets. I felt so good wearing it. You know that feeling when something just fits right? That's what Armoire delivers. And for you, Armoire is the answer to feeling cute and confident in maternity clothes without spending a fortune. No more clutter, no more wasting money on clothes that won't fit in a month. Just stylish, feel-good options on your terms. Right now, my listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/Dr. Nicole. That's armoire.style, ARMOIRE.style/Dr. Nicole to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. So I think that's a great point about putting it on your shower registry because like you get, don't get me wrong, clothes and whatnot are fun, but you end up with like 45 onesies.
Yes.
The stuff that is really useful, paying for a doula would be useful either during pregnancy and postpartum, ideally. Food, coming to clean up. Those are the things that we need to start focusing on. I'm on a tangent now to actually help women.
Definitely.
You especially for your first baby, you do get like, I don't want to say caught up, but of course you're like excited about the clothes and the, make sure you have the diaper bag and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, it is the doula, the key things, some support is what will really matter. So definitely think about putting it on your registry to get some help paying for a doula. What are your thoughts on having a student doula at your birth?
I think that's great because we all have to learn somewhere. I think that it's a really good opportunity for doulas to learn more and for families to help other doulas out because it's a community effort.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was really great information, and I know that the listeners will find it very helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah, now what I want to do is finish by asking just a couple of more kind of personal questions. I like the listeners to learn a little more about the actual person that they are hearing from. So let's start with, I know you have a particular interest in raising awareness about the issues Black women face during pregnancy and childbirth. What would you like to share about that and your work surrounding that issue?
I think a lot of people don't know is that people of color are at a higher risk for maternal mortality and morbidity, especially Black women. I think the number stands as of right now that Black women are still 3 to 4 more times likely to die in childbirth than our white counterparts. And a lot of that is due to racism in our medical system and not listening to Black women and Black families. So it's really important for us to have someone there to advocate our wishes for us and give us our options and our choices and amplify our voices so that we can be heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And before people start clucking their teeth at the word racism, let's just clarify that it's kind of different. We're not talking about and this is an issue that I'm passionate about as well. We're not talking about KKK hood wearing kind of thing. A lot of it is just what's called implicit bias, where people don't even realize that they're treating someone different based on race. And maybe other factors or socioeconomic status. So this is a real issue and a real concern. It's a podcast for a whole nother episode.
Yes.
But yes, there are some issues that we have to deal with in our system, and Black women, like I, as a college educated Black women, have risk that are higher than a white woman who hasn't completed high school just by virtue of being Black. And there's something wrong with that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, next thing, I'm curious, is there anything from your own personal experience with pregnancy and birth that influences your current work? Like for me, I'm definitely influenced by the fact that I had a preemie baby, a NICU baby. Is there anything from your own personal experience that influences your work?
I think everything from my personal experience.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
My whole life story is the reason, or not my whole life story, but my life story surrounding pregnancy and birth is the reason why I do this work. I was young when I had my oldest daughter. and I wasn't married. And I didn't realize that those things were a factor until after I gave birth.
Mm,
So I just wasn't receiving the type of care that I thought I deserved at the time. I
right.
wasn't given my options. I wasn't given my choices. And then at one point, I remember my OB coming in and telling me that we have to have this baby by noon because I'm going on vacation.
Oh my
And I was like,
God.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay. That's awful.
yeah. And then I started going to births after that with my family and my friends and seeing that they were receiving like the same type of treatment and realizing that this is not the way that birth is supposed to happen. This
Right.
is not how, birthing people aren't sick.
Right, 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 right. Oh my goodness, that's awful that someone would tell you that you have to have your baby by noon. Um, okay. Now, last question I'll ask is what is one piece of advice, like the most important piece of advice that you feel like you would give to expectant moms?
Like I said, you're not sick and you can do this. Birth is hard work, but with the right support, you can get it done no matter which way your birth decides to unfold.
That's a very good point. I love the you are not sick. Like pregnancy is not a disease. Um, it's a normal and natural thing that happens. Yes, sometimes things don't go exactly as you anticipate, but for the most part, women are going to have a normal, happy, healthy pregnancy, and that's how it should be approached. And to your second point, that you can do it, man, women are strong.
Yes.
I
Yes.
mean, let me tell you, we Keisha and I get to see women are strong, and you find strength from places that you didn't even know you had during
Definitely.
birth. So,
Yes.
yeah, I love that, love that, love that. All right, well, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time
Oh,
to
thanks so much
talk
for
to
having
me.
me.
Yeah. Where can people find you if they're interested in your services as a doula? I know you're only in the Richmond, Virginia area, so my
Yes.
apologies to everyone who outside of the area, but but for those who are listening in Richmond, where can people find you?
So we can also do like phone doula support. So that's doula support over the phone.
Oh,
But
well,
you
look
can,
at that. I did
I
not
know,
know
right?
that.
Yes.
Okay. So
So
people call up Keisha if you need some
right.
help.
Yeah, because if you're in the hospital setting and you just have questions and stuff, so I can do that. But you can find me at doulamatch.net. My name is Kesha Graham on there. Or I work at a doula collective in the Richmond area called My Birth, and their website is www.mybirthrva.com.
Okay.
And yeah,
All right.
that's
And
where you can find me.
I will link to all that information in the show notes. So if you're interested in that, you can just find the links in the show notes where you can reach out to Keisha. Okay, so that is it. Thank you again, Keisha. I really appreciate it.
Yay, thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right,
All
bye-bye.
right. So, wasn't that an awesome interview? I learned a ton that I didn't know, and I know that you did too. Now, after each time that I have a guest on the podcast, whether it's a birth story or an expert interview, I give something called Nicole's Notes, and that's just my top 3 or 4 takeaways from the interview. So, here we go. First thing I took away is that everyone deserves support during labor. Amen, amen, and amen. Every woman should have support during labor. Now, I know that financially, you may not be able to afford a doula. That's just the reality of things. So maybe you have your partner there, maybe you have a trusted friend there, but every woman deserves support during labor. So get that support for yourself during labor. Number 2, you can get a doula at any time during pregnancy. I was kind of surprised to hear this one. For some reason, I had in my mind that you didn't link up with the doula until the end of pregnancy, but no, you can find a doula early and kind of build that relationship during your pregnancy and have her there as a resource for you. Number 3, and this is also a good one, expand what you ask for on your baby registry. Yes, of course, you're going to ask for clothes and wipes and that kind of thing, but you tend to get tons of that stuff and it's not useful anymore after about 3 months or so. So for sure, consider asking for support for a birth doula or a postpartum doula. I promise you, you will not regret that decision. And then the last thing, do not be afraid to change providers. As Keisha said, You have choices. Do not be afraid to exercise those choices at any point during your pregnancy. I talked about this more in episode 3 of the podcast on how to choose the right OB doctor. So definitely go back and listen to that episode if you want to know information. All right, so what about you? What were your big takeaways from this interview today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the podcast community Facebook group that's all about pregnancy and birth podcast community on Facebook. I'll link that up in the show notes. Now be sure to subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, I'd really appreciate a review. It helps other women find the show, and I can give you a shout out on a future episode. Next week on the podcast, I'm talking about a very serious topic, and that is maternal mortality. I'm going to cover information that you need to know to help you stay safe and alive during your pregnancy and the postpartum period. This is an episode that you will not want to miss. Now, until then, I wish you a healthy and happy pregnancy and birth. Today's episode is brought to you by Women's Wellness Coaching by Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins. Head to ncrcoaching.com to check out my free 1-hour mini course on how to make your birth plan, as well as my comprehensive online childbirth education class, the Birth Preparation Course. With over 8 hours of content and a private course community, the Birth Preparation Course will leave you knowledgeable, prepared, confident, and empowered going into your birth. Head to ncrcoaching.com to learn more.